Hey guys, my name is Robin, and in this HubSpot Marketing Hub tutorial, I'll share some quick tips on how to get the most out of HubSpot Marketing Hub's features. And a quick note before we dive in, if you haven't created a HubSpot account yet, please use my HubSpot link in the description to sign up for a free HubSpot account. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, it's the exact same link for you, but HubSpot rewards me for sending people their way. So if you appreciate me putting out these free videos for you guys, please consider using my link when signing up for HubSpot. So the first thing I do in a new HubSpot account is check the settings. So click the gear icon at the top bar here and then click on account defaults. So here we can update our account name. I'm going to change mine to creator rec. Also make sure your time zone is correct. So I'm in this time zone. Yes, change the time zone and then click save. So next we're going to go to branding. So you can save some time in the future by setting up your brand colors, your logo, and the fonts you're using. So here you can set your brand colors. And if you need some help picking colors, use this website. And make sure to check the Explore tab for popular combos. If you click here and then Explore, you'll see the trending colors, which can give you some inspiration. So in order to track activity on our website, you need to add the HubSpot tracking code. So click the gear icon again and then go to tracking and analytics and go to tracking code. So I'm going to copy this code. So I use a Google Tag Manager. So I'll quickly show you how it works in Google Tag Manager. You create a new tag, name it. So for example, HubSpot tracking. Then click here on the tag configuration, choose custom HTML, paste the code we just copied, scroll down a little bit and click on triggering and then select all pages and then click save. And then you're going to click submit to make sure the new tag is live on your website. So to test it, click on preview in Google Tag Manager, enter the website URL and click on connect. And now you can see that the HubSpot tracking fired when we visited the website. In other words, it's working. If you don't have Google Tag Manager and still want to test whether or not it's working, you're going to go to your website, click the right mouse button and click on inspect. Then go to network and then we're going to search for a part of the code. So for example, this part, I'm going to copy this part. I'm going to refresh the page. And as you can see, the code is firing on our website. In other words, it is working as it should. And another way to see if it's working is inside your HubSpot account. So if we go to contacts and if we click this contact, for example, and as you can see, if we go to activities, here you can see I just viewed that page. So if we go back to our website and if I click on blog, for example, and if I now refresh this page, you can see that this contact has viewed the blog page. Next, another important thing to keep in mind, we're going to go to the settings tab again, and then we're going to scroll down a little bit under data management, and then all the way at the bottom we have backup and restore. So although this isn't super important for brand new accounts, but it's a good habit once you're actively using HubSpot. So about once a month or something, back up your entire account and download it to your local environment. If you ever get locked out of your HubSpot account or something goes wrong, you'll always have a backup. You can create a backup over here. So next we have email list. So before we can send our first email newsletter, we need to create an email list. So you can send emails to individual contacts. So as you can see over here, we can send emails to individual contacts, but obviously that's not ideal. The entire concept of email marketing is that you can send newsletters to an entire list. So we have to create a contact list inside HubSpot. So to create a list, I'm going to click on CRM and then I'm going to go to list and then I'm going to click on create a new list and then we're going to choose contacts and then I'm going to click on next. So right now, if you click on review and save, you'll see this pop up asking you what kind of list you want to create. Do you want to create a static or active list? So if you've used other email marketing tools before, you might be used to assigning new subscribers to a list when setting up your sign-up form, right? But HubSpot works a little bit differently. So you don't choose a list during form creation. So if you create your sign-up form, you don't choose a list there. That's not even an option. Instead, you create a list afterward. And it doesn't matter if your form has already received submissions. So if you created a sign-up form and that form already received submissions, you can still add those sign-ups to a new list. So again, the two options are an active list or a static list. And I'll explain in a little bit what the difference is between these two, but I'll close this tab for now. And as you can see here, this list currently has no filters. So what does that mean? So let's say I created this landing page. So what every Austin home seller needs to know. Thinking about selling, this quick guide breaks down what most homeowners get wrong, blah, 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 blah. So we got this ebook and then we got a form. So get your free guide instantly. Just enter your email and we'll send you the ebook. So we have the email field where people can enter their email address and then they click on download. So let's say we use this sign up form to grow our list. In that case, if we go back to a list, we have to add a filter to select that specific form. So we're going to click on add a filter and then we're going to scroll down to form submissions. And here we can see form submissions and here we can choose any form submission, or we can select a specific form. So if we click on this form on this landing page, here we can see the name of this form. And obviously we didn't do a good job here of naming our form. It is way better to give it a proper name, of course. Anyway, this form's name is new blank form, May 9, 2025. And here we can also see the timestamp, so 4:58, which is this form over here. So if we only want to add subscribers to this list of that particular form, we have to select the exact form. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna select this form and we can also add multiple filters here if we want, but I'll keep it simple for now. So now if we click on the review and save button again, we have to choose between an active or a static list, right? So if you choose active, it means your list will grow automatically as new people submit the form. So if you choose static, the list stays as it is. It won't grow unless you manually add contacts. So in this particular situation, what we're doing right now with this for this particular landing page, an active list makes much more sense since we want our list to grow with new form submissions, right? So we're going to click on save and process the list. And the last thing, we want to make sure we give our list a proper name so we can recognize it in the future. So we're going to click this pencil icon here and we're going to give it a recognizable name. So for example, the newsletter email list. So the next thing I always test is to make sure I have an email footer. So we're going to go to settings and we're going to scroll down to tools and then marketing and then email. And then over here in the configuration tab, we can set the footer of our email. So make sure to enter your details and then click on save. You're about to edit the default footer, confirm. So now next time if we send an email, we have the proper footer. So now we're finally ready to send our first email newsletter. We're going to go to marketing and then we're going to click on email. So I'm going to click on create a new email. And here I'm going to choose the regular email, so not the automated email. So I'm going to choose regular email. I'm going to click on next. So here we can browse all the different templates HubSpot has to offer us. You can also create a custom template if you want. There's also plain text options available. So once you select a template, you'll enter the email editor. And here you can start building your email with the drag and drop builder you're probably already used to. So you can drag text elements, you can drag images into the email, you can drag video elements into the email. And as you can see, the footer we just created in the settings is now already here. So a few things to keep in mind when creating your email. Make sure to give the email a proper name. So for example, let's say I'm a real estate agent and I'm sending an email newsletter to potential customers and I'm gonna send this email. So 3 things to know before selling this summer. So that's gonna be the subject line of my email. And I'm also gonna give this name internally, this name too, so I can recognize it in the future. So next I'm gonna go to settings and here I can tweak my from name. So what's the name people will see in their inbox. I can change the from address if I want. So here's the internal name again. And here we have the subject line. So 3 things to know before selling this summer. Send or schedule. So here we have to select our recipients and here we can select the contact list. So for example, this contact list we just created. So next we also have the A/B testing option. So let's click on it. And one thing I recommend doing is starting the A/B test only after you've finished creating your entire email, including the subject line and all the settings and the content of the email, because it makes a copy of that first email. And also for the ones that don't know what A/B testing is, the idea of an A/B test is to create 2 versions of your email. and see which one performs better. And another tip is to test only one thing at a time. So for example, like the subject line. So let's say this is the subject line from version A. And for example, this is the subject line for version B. So this is what we naming version B. So then we have to decide on the winning metric. So we can choose open rate, click-through rate. So we're going to choose the open rate because we're going to test the different subject lines. And then I'm going to click on create the test. And now, as you can see, it just created a copy of our first email. So if we're going to go to Austin sellers over here, and then if we go to settings, we can tweak all the things. We can tweak the from name, we can tweak the subject line, but also if we go to edit, we can also tweak the content of the email. But again, as I mentioned previously, only test one thing at a time with an A/B test, because else you don't know what the reason is why one email performed better than another. So if we go to settings over here, now we have to tweak the subject line of this second email, right? We're gonna tweak it to this one. So Austin sellers, read this before summer. So that's the only thing we're testing for this particular email, the subject line. And then if we wanna send the email, we're gonna go to review and send. So let's now have a look at HubSpot's email marketing automation features. So if we go to marketing and create a new email, here we can see we can choose the regular email and the automated email. So let's come up with a case study here. So let's say you're a real estate agent and you send a weekly newsletter called the Monday Mortgage Minute with current mortgage rates and a short market analysis. So that's a great example of a regular email. So we have a regular email here because we're sending that every single week. So now if we go back to that landing page I showed you earlier where we promote this free ebook. So let's say we're running a Facebook ad, we're sending traffic to this landing page to people in Austin because we want to find leads. We want to find people that want to sell their home in Austin. So we're targeting homeowners thinking of selling, right? And you want to position yourself as the agent to list their home. That's the entire goal of this campaign. So once someone downloads my free ebook, so Selling in Austin, we want to make sure to stay top of mind of those new leads, and not just once, but over time. So sure, we could send them emails manually every single week, like with the previous example where we have a Monday newsletter, for example, but it's far more efficient to use an automated workflow in HubSpot. And the idea of an automated workflow is to send pre-written emails over several days, several weeks, or maybe even months, all tailored to the people interested in selling their home in Austin in this particular example. So the idea here is that you write those emails once and let them run automatically on autopilot. So every time a new person submits their email address on this landing page, they join our list and they'll get added to that workflow, so they will receive emails from us automatically week after week. So of course, you might update the emails occasionally if something changes in the market, but overall this saves you a ton of time while keeping you front and center with potential clients. That's the idea of a workflow, of an automated workflow. So how do you create an automated email in HubSpot? So you're going to go to automation, and then we're going to click on workflows. And then at the top right corner, we're going to click on create workflow. And then we have two options, from scratch or from template. So let's click on from template. So for example, this popular one, send an email series when a form is submitted. That is what I just described as well. So when someone submits their email on this landing page, they will receive a series of emails. So that's the email series. So you can click on preview here, and here you can see a little example. So the workflow needs a trigger. So a lead who found your website through an online form and fills out the form. Then they will receive a welcome email. They wait 3 days, they will receive another email, etc. So I'll close this pop-up here. But as previously mentioned, you can also create a workflow from scratch to build your own custom workflow. So I'm going to click here. So this is the workflow dashboard. And the first thing we want to do here is to make sure we give the workflow a recognizable name, especially if you already know its purpose. And that's what I know for this particular example. So in this example, I'm creating a welcome email series for people who submit their email via the sign-up form for my free guide, right? That's the landing page I created. So again, the goal of that landing page is to target potential sellers in Austin and position ourselves as their go-to real estate agent. So I'll name this workflow. So for example, I'll name this workflow Potential Austin Home Sellers Welcome Email Series. So this tells me exactly who it's for and what this workflow does. So the first thing we have to do on the workflow dashboard is we have to choose a trigger to start this workflow. And if this is your first time seeing this workflow dashboard, it might feel a little bit overwhelming. But don't worry, I'll explain the different elements on the dashboard. So for this particular example, we'll trigger the workflow when someone submits their email in the form. So we're going to go to Digital Interactions and we're going to scroll down to Form Events and we're going to select Form Submission. And then you can choose any form or select a particular form you've used on the landing page. So again, that's why you have to make sure you give it a recognizable name and not like this. So let's say you want to trigger this workflow for that particular form. You're going to choose that particular form. And after you've selected it, you're going to click on Next. And here you'll be asked if you want to enroll only specific contacts. So I'll skip that and include everyone. So I'll click on Next again. And here you can choose whether to allow re-enrollment. So I'll leave it off. And here you can also set the unenrollment criteria. So when do you want the contacts to leave this workflow? You can set that over here. There are a lot of different options here. For example, you can choose Met a Workflow Goal. So if we select this one, and here we can work with the different deal properties. So for example, we could say stop the emails if the deal stage is marked closed or won. So in this case, I'll leave it at this and I'm going to click on Save and Continue. So now that we've decided on our trigger, we can start adding actions. And by the way, we do that by clicking on this plus icon. So if we click on it right now, this window here will close. And if we want to add a new action, if we click the plus icon, this window will pop up. So a few examples. So let's say we want to send a new email. We click on communication and then we click on send an email. So if you click on send an email, it will be added to the workflow. So let's go over a few more examples. If we click the plus icon here again, as you can see, we can also add a delay. So if we click the delay option here, we have a lot of different options here. So let's say we want to wait for only 1 hour after the form submission has been made. And then we want to send our first email. So I'm going to click on save. But if we click the plus icon, we can also use the CRM options inside HubSpot. So for example, we can create a task, we can delete a contact, but we can also edit properties of that particular contact. And bottom line, a lot of different options to choose from. And by the way, you can also use branches. So for example, let's say we want to branch 2 different paths after someone submits the form. We're going to click the plus icon here and we're going to select branch. So for example, let's say I want to randomly split the audience 50-50 in 2 different paths. We're going to choose this one and we're going to click on save. And we want to move all the following actions below this branch to path A, so branch 1. So I'm going to click on save. So now we have path A or branch 1 and branch 2 here. So now coming back to adding emails to the workflow. So as I showed you before, we have to click the plus icon and then we're going to go to communications and then we're going to click the send email option here to add an email to the workflow. And then if we click this drop down here, we have to select one of the emails or create a new email. So in this case, I'm going to create a new email. And here again, a best practice is to make sure you give your email recognizable names. So for example, you could say email 1 and then use the exact same name as the name of this particular workflow. Then you will always know which email it is. Then make sure to enter the rest of the details. So the subject line of the email, the from address, the from name. And then you want to write the content of the email. You want to select the footer. So that's the footer we created in the beginning too, right? That's this one. And then you're going to click on save email. Now, if we click on this drop down again, we have to select that particular email we just created. So I'm not a big fan of this process, but this is how it works inside HubSpot. We have to first create the email and then we have to select it again. So this is the email we just created. Here we can see an email preview. We can click here on the email to see the email in a bigger screen. So if we click on view the email, so here you can view the email. You can also edit the email if you want, but then this pop-up pops up Are you sure you want to edit this email here? Editing this email here means you won't be able to edit it in the workflow. Remember, we just edited the email. We created the email in that small screen. If you want to edit the email inside the bigger editor within HubSpot, you have to click yes, I'm sure. And now you can edit the email in the bigger editor. It's more user-friendly than the smaller editor, especially if you're sending bigger emails. Anyway, when you're ready with your email, you're going to click on update, and then you're going to click on publish the new update. Now we have to go back to the workflow to activate it. So I'm going to go to automations, workflows. We're going to go to that particular workflow we were just working on, which was the upper one here. So obviously we're not done with the workflow because we should add more emails to this workflow, right? But let's say we are done with the workflow and we want to activate the workflow. You're going to click on review and publish. Then you're going to walk yourself through these 4 steps. So we have step 1, step 2, step 3, and 4, which is basically a summary we already went through in the beginning when creating the workflow. So I'm going to click on next. Here we have some more timing settings, performing settings. I'm not going to go into that in this tutorial. So I'm going to click on next. I'm going to click on next here too. And then we're going to turn on the workflow. And now your workflow is working. So next up, if you're planning to subscribe to HubSpot's starter tier, whether that's the Marketing Hub Starter or the overall starter customer platform, I would like to invite you to join my HubSpot course. So HubSpot Starter Made Easy. So if you've enjoyed my teaching style so far, you'll definitely enjoy this course. I'll walk you through everything HubSpot Starter has to offer in a beginner-friendly way. So over here you can see the different chapters of the course. So who's this course for? So I think especially if you're new to HubSpot, there is that frustrating phase where you're trying to figure everything out, right? And while you eventually get the hang of it, it could take you many hours, days, or even weeks. So I've already been through that phase many times. So if you follow my video tutorials in this online course, you'll save yourself a lot of time. So if your time is valuable to you, feel free to check it out. The link to the course is in the description below. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.